So I'm going to start with the back of the radio. That's what the problem was. This cable can be slightly loose, and you think you've got a radio problem, but what you have is a cable not connecting problem. So the way this radio is set up is that there's no speaker on the radio. So there's an audio circuit in the radio, obviously. It has to go out to either a separate amplifier and speaker, or to the power supply, which has the speaker and stuff on it. Obviously, antenna connection. This is the power connection going to the power supply, between the radio and the power supply. This is the backdoor modem connection here, which I was just trying to figure out what the hell's going on wrong with it here. And obviously power here. So that's the back of the radio. There's nothing much else to it from that point of view. Yeah. So the first thing is, this radio is 100% duty cycle. What that means, for those of you who don't know, is I can go into transmit full power 24 hours a day and not burn up the radio. All right? It's designed to 100% transmit all the time operation. And because we're now part of DisasterNet, and I'll be talking a bit about what's happening with DisasterNet, this radio stays on 24/7. This is ALE scan for the 7 DisasterNet commercial frequencies. That is the default. If you move out of ALE to use amateur radio frequency, which I'll show you how to do, and you're done with whatever you sent a WinLink message, whatever you did to a gateway or peer-to-peer on amateur frequencies, then you can just walk away, and within 10 minutes it will revert to what you see it doing right now. We have 7 frequencies across the bandwidth, right? So as you can see here, we've got what is it? 3 megahertz, 7 megahertz, 9 megahertz, 5 megahertz, and 14 megahertz, 20 and 29. The amateur side works the way it normally does. You don't have to know anything new. It's a little harder to navigate to it, and I'll show you why, but there's some shortcuts that make it easier. There is no dial like this, right? And there's no really another dial where you can just go click, 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 click to your different pre-memorized channels. But it does exist on here as touchscreen stuff. So it's a little different, but it's there. All right, what is ALE? So let's turn this down so we don't have to listen to that right now. So automatic link establishment. There's 2 parts of it. There's what the ALE part, and then there's LQA, which is link quality assessment. All right. And so in the radio, it has software that will search the frequencies that are part of your ALE listed frequencies, constantly scanning between everyone who's on your ALE network. So it's an individual network, and it's assessing which of these frequencies will work the best, and the second best, and the third best. And when you go to make an ALE call, it's going to do all the work for you. You don't have to look at a propagation table. You don't have to know anything. And that's one of the secrets for DisasterNet, is people who don't know anything about radio. They don't have to have their ham license because it's commercial frequencies. They don't know have anything about radio because this does all the choices for them. All they need to do is, if I want to make an ALE call, I'll show you how to do that. I'll come back and do that. Here's scrolling through this. This is a list of everybody that is entered on our network so far. I can do an all stations call. I can call individual people like Prince George, the Preoc, or something like that. Or in some cases, and we haven't really done much of this yet, there are subgroups. So there might be like a Strathcona Regional District group if they just want to have a call amongst themselves for some reason, right? So the way you would access that menu is, you would hit call. You, whether it's an ALE call, we're not using net calls. It could be a group call. It could be a phone call. We're not using net or phone. There will be some groups. And sounding is how sounding just means it's polling, it's handshaking with everybody in the network. It runs through everybody to test all the time. And then there's text messaging, which is what this is. So you can just hit messages, okay, and you can choose who you want to send a text message through to, okay? And then you can type it out on the screen, or we can get some remoting software, which I have but haven't installed yet. So you can do it over here, right? See what you're doing. And just send them a text message on ALE. It'll choose the frequency for you, and away you go. And if I were to say, choose this in here, there's a couple of different ones. You can have in preset messages like radio check-in or something. You could have a whole list, I think, I don't know, it's a half a dozen. Anyways, you can have a bunch of preset messages that are routine that you don't have to type up every time. Or you can send an AL message call and an ALE message direct message, AMD, right? So mostly you're going to either make an ALE call, AMD message. You would choose the kind of message, you would type up whatever it is, and then send it over ALE, and it just does the handshake, and it sounds just like a packet modem going, right? If I stop the scan, it takes it out of ALE mode. And if I want to go to something that's not those 7 frequencies in ALE, I have to put it in stop scan before I can move out of it. So ALE, it's really strongly biased to stick with this ALE unless we need to do something else. So like if we needed to send a peer-to-peer message to the Pre-Occ in Victoria, and it wasn't one of our ALE channels, so they're going to have their own DisasterNet channel, so it shouldn't be an issue. But if we needed to do that, we'd have to get out of ALE, so we stop the scan, and now using the channel buttons, we can go out, and here's 60-meter frequencies. So there are a few things you can control. Like you notice this is set to 125 watts. So that's going to have to change. I actually should reset it now to 30 watts. And the reason is that our effective radiated power, we're limited to 99.5 or whatever it is. And that's a function of radio power output, antenna cable, and antenna type gain, right? And so we're good at 125 watts if we're on 80 meters, right? It won't go over. It's actually a little less. But if we go up to 20 meters, then we're way over at that point, right? Like anything here in these menus, if you get into it and you're not sure what to do and you're afraid you're going to screw things up, just hit the back button is your friend. You just back right out of it, just back, and you haven't changed anything, right? If for any reason you were to go into the menus, which is just a touch screen here, and say you go into your settings, and you go in there and you're curious, don't do this, but if you did this, right, and you change something, the only thing I ask you to do is remember what you did and go back to where it was. And if you totally screw up, tell us, because we have the programming backed up, and we can just drop it back in there and fix whatever you messed up. There's a change coming around in March. Barrett is releasing a firmware update, which will allow custom power settings at any wattage. So what we will then do is we'll get out our calculator and find out what gets us as close as possible without going over in each frequency. So let's just try turning it off for a second. Shut down.
Fan and PG.
Okay, it's back up and it kept it. Right?
Yeah.
So good question to ask. Always check those things because it'll go back to the programming. I think the programming probably, power might be one of those things that's user settable despite the programming, but you can probably also set it and lock it. Every parameter, just so you know, every parameter on this radio can be locked or unlocked. If you needed to do anything on here, you need the software on the computer and do whatever changes to this that you're going to do. This comes out of here, goes into here, and loads into the radio. You can't go direct from the computer to the radio. And that's kind of a security thing, right? So, but any USB drive will work as far as that goes, as long as you have the software to program what you want. You can take it to any Barrett radio. So, but you can then go into your ALE settings and see what's in there. You can go to channel presets, network setup, all that kind of stuff in here. It's type certified for all frequencies, so that's why we can put amateur frequencies on with commercial frequencies. and there are no restrictions on that, which is why when I put in that extra channel, the transmit restriction was a surprise. So that's obviously a setting in there. So I'll get on this at home and figure out what he did, and then I'll fix it. What is the advantage of ALE is that it's ease of operation. You don't have to know anything to get through on the radio. You can send a text. If you can't get through on voice, the text will probably get through. Even if you didn't know how to use WinLink, at least you could get a text out to somebody, right? But we go into settings, express setup. We might have to, if we wanted to restrict ourselves to DisasterNet, we might have to put in that service code and take those two out, for example, or take public out, only have MCOM. The advantage of just having one service code is it's only going to look at those 7 frequencies, and you don't have to find them in there anywhere, right? You can also put our frequencies into the favorites. That's another easy way to do it. But the advantage of having the service code for it is that it then brings us into their propagation prediction network, all that kind of stuff. So it just makes it easier to use. So that's for a gateway. Send and forget. They're going to have to log in and get their messages from the gateway or from the internet, right? And we don't have to make direct contact in real time. But what if it's a peer-to-peer message? And by the way, ALE buys us no advantage then, right? Because you're not making direct contact. So it's not a matter of time or anything else. You're just trying to get a message cached onto the servers so that the recipient can retrieve it at their leisure, right? There's nothing about ALE in terms of getting to the gateway, right? You'll just use the WinLink propagation to tell you which is the best frequency. You choose that, right? And our gateway will have it, right? It's not set up yet, but it will have it. And then you send it in a normal way. So you can by using the settings or whatever, you can mix and match choices and what you're able to access. Okay? So when you're trying to organize an emergency network on peer-to-peer, everybody's got to be on a schedule for message exchange. ALE eliminates that problem because it's going to call them. They know they have a call coming in. Even if they're on another call, it will tell them there's another call, right? The problem then is, do they have a WinLink session in peer-to-peer ready to receive that email? Probably not. That's where text comes in. You say, okay, prepare to receive a WinLink email. Send us the text when you are ready. And then what you're going to do is go into WinLink, and then you're going to choose peer-to-peer, do your message, that whole thing, open a peer-to-peer session. And in the peer-to-peer session, there's going to be a different setup. Now we're going to go to radio setup, and we're going to set the radio setup to none. Radio control to none. Okay? So now the procedure will be you prepare your message as a peer-to-peer message, not WinLink. You post it to the outbox. You're going to have this setting already done, so you don't have to do it every time. And open a backdoor peer-to-peer session, but you're not going to hit start. Then you're going to come over to the radio, text your receiving party, prepare to receive a backdoor peer-to-peer message.
And wait for them to say,
and they'll
we're ready.
They'll say, okay, we're ready. And then you press start. Now the thing is, what do you put into your frequencies here? Well, it doesn't matter. You can put if it says you can't do it because there's not a frequency, put in a dummy frequency because it's not controlling the radio, right? And ALE will pick it. And then you hit start and away it goes. Again, we have not tested this, so there may be something where WinLink says, no, we can't do that. The radio is not on the same frequency as whatever you put in. I don't think that'll happen, but there may be some hidden pitfalls. This is why the testing is happening. But that's the idea. And we're doing all of this to eliminate peer-to-peer scheduling issues. The ALE fixes that huge problem. And remember, peer-to-peer is our no third-party infrastructure fallback, right? So peer-to-peer is important. Most of the time, we're going to use gateways because somewhere the internet should be working. But if it's a big cyber attack and North America is not working, right? Or something like that. God only knows what could happen there. Peer-to-peer will still work. So that's that. And then voice calls will be ALE on DisasterNet. Just imagine if, even if it was just all of the jurisdictions on the island were affected by an earthquake, and you're trying to schedule 20 different stations with peer-to-peer. It'd be a nightmare trying, because you'd be stepping on each other. With ALE, boop. Not only that, with ALE, you can call your other party, and if the best frequency is 60 meters, but the second best is 40 meters, one party can be on 40, the other on 60 for peer-to-peer, and ALE knows that because they're talking to each other all the time, right? So we can make maximal use of the frequency set.
So you can do cross-band, in other words.
No. What you're just, in other words, I'm calling you on 40 meters, and Ted's calling somebody else on 80 meters,
yeah.
right? And it's because those frequencies are all open. ALE will know that one frequency is busy, and it'll just use the next best one, right? And text, by the way, would be like Packer. It's going to get through below the noise level and things like that. So there's all those advantages to it.